Hello, hi, and welcome to Empathic Fire. I am your reader, Jay. This is going to be a new type of video that I do. Maybe it's a new series, I don't know. I really only do two types of videos, really. But maybe we're going to try something new here, and maybe it'll stick. We'll see. Welcome to what I'm sort of kind of, I think I'm going to call this the Distillery. Where basically this is a collective message for anyone who is resonating with the concept, maybe with the title. I don't know what the title is by when I'm recording this. I have no idea what's coming out in these cards. But anyway, this is a look back on the month before. So we're leaving September 2020. Hello, hi, how are you? If you're in the future, this is what we were doing at the time. And what I did was I sat down and I looked over all the videos that I did for each of the signs in September. So the monthlies and the mid-monthlies. And I calculated, or tabulated, I should say, not calculated, tabulated the most popular repeated cards so that I could give a distilled collective message to you guys for the overall review of September 2020, right? So at the top are the most appearing cards. There are 4 of them. Everything's face down because I don't want to, spoil anything. I know what all the cards are here potentially, but I don't know what's going to come out, okay? So these are the ones that were repeated the most. These are all the other repeating cards. And then this deck we're going to use to get further information to kind of understand what we all experienced and I shouldn't say all, what some of us experienced in September 2020, right? So we're going to first decide what kind of order the bigger players are in. Again, these are the most repeated cards that appeared last month across all 24 videos that I did. Let me tell you, that was a joy going back and looking at that stuff. I didn't watch the whole videos, but I just, noted down which cards were in each reading, right? And again, these are the 4 most, they came out to be 4, the most repeating cards, right? And then we're going to get a little bit more clarity on top of these 4 of what is the most important, again, coming out of September. And then with this deck, we're going to see what we need to do with that information. Any type of clarity that might come out, any further information, or, what might be upcoming in the future, okay? First time doing this, I don't know if I'm going to do it again. You guys let me know, okay? So remember, please, if you're new here, thank you. Thank you for coming by. But if you've been a long-time supporter, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Either way, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you want to show support, if you want to show that you care about the work that I do here out on YouTube in this vast, land of YouTube tarot readers and spiritualists and all that kind of stuff. So if you like this type of reading, if you found it interesting or you found it helpful in any type of way, please let me know down in the comments, all right? So I don't know, well, I've already meditated and everything like that. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't do that. So I'm going to do it because it just came to me. Because I'm like, how am I going to shuffle? Because you guys, if you've been with me for a while, I do like the stack shuffle. How am I going to shuffle 4 cards? That doesn't make sense. So what we're going to do, we're going to do like a little spreadsies. And I guess I should move these out of the way. Yeah, that would be helpful. And we're just going to like randomize these. I don't know what order they're in. I truly, truly don't. I'm not some type of card shark. I have no idea. At this point, I would have no idea where they are, right? So please keep that in mind. And again, I don't know that the order is important, but again, these are the most appearing cards, or these were the cards that appeared the most for all the signs in September. And that feels pretty good. And I think, am I laying it this way or am I going to flip it? They want me to lay it like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the big guys, right? And without even looking at them, I think, or do we want to look at them? Because these I can side shuffle. It was a total of like 30 repeating cards, so these are 26 here in my hand. Do we want to look at these? They say yes, we do. Okay. All right. So the first card was the King of Swords. He came out a lot last month, and then the Strength card came out, 5 of Cups, and then 3 of Pentacles. Okay. So I'm not sure that the order matters. Again, this is the first time I'm doing this. It's loosely designed. I'm like also partially guided here. So let's get 3 additional cards on this set of 4, please. Additional information of what is to be distilled, what is to be taken away from the month of September for the collective. What are the 3 additional cards as the takeaway in the month of September? Please show me. 3 additional cards, please. Wheel. 2 more cards, please, for the additional takeaway from September. What is the distilled message for the collective from the month previous? September, please. In 2020. Stop. Well, flip it, might as well. Hangman, okay. And the Sun. Double. Alright, so the rest, sorry guys, better luck next month if I do this again, who knows. Alright, so, collectively, again, you know, it's a collective message, so it may or may not apply to you in all the ways. It might not apply to you at all. You know, you all had different storylines for the month, so take what resonates, leave what doesn't, okay? So what I'm seeing is some of you were dealing with the strength to really, and the fortitude to really step into a painful situation. What does that mean, step into a painful situation? It feels like needing, and I don't even know why we're doing this because we're actually, yeah. The strength to possibly recognize the ways in which something was painful to you, a situation, a relationship, some type of emotional state that you're in or were in, okay? And working out of that. You know, some of you may have had disagreements with people who were air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, but it doesn't have to be. It's a super general reading. It's a collective reading. And again, you know, I think it goes without saying, because I think most other readers do this legwork for me, is when I say any type of sign out here, it doesn't even have to be another person's sun sign or your sun sign. It could be their rising, their Venus, their Mercury, their anything, you know, their any of those things. So take it all with a grain of salt. But some of you may have had a disagreement with someone who's very strong and staunch, right? Someone who maybe has a good ability to communicate, but doesn't always necessarily communicate correctly. And to go into a disagreement with that person may have been a very sad or painful situation with the Five of Cups. And to work your way through that does require some level of maturity, some level of coming into agreement, but I don't think that is easy. And if it's still going on, I don't really sense that it is going. Like, I don't get the sense that if you're in the middle of this type of embittered disagreement with other people or some type of misunderstanding with another person, that I don't think you or they or whoever is involved is actually able to see this Sun energy, which is the most auspicious, the most positive card in tarot, arguably, or maybe not so arguably. You know, it's your opinion or it's other people's opinions as well as to what the Sun is all about. But I feel in the moment, in this now, that hasn't actually manifested. This Sun energy is like a far off like dream. It doesn't feel as if it's plausible. It doesn't feel as if it's possible. That's why I'm saying this. And that's interesting that I came down this way, because I was kind of reading it like that, and then I came down and rounded here with the Sun. And I'm like, well, why are we talking about this thing that doesn't seem possible? Here's why. Because through time, the Wheel of Fortune and the Hangman, positions and perspectives will change. That is a given. That's life. You know, that's the evolution of a lifetime, right? Of any individual's lifetime, right? You don't believe the same things that you did when you were 5. You're not going to believe those same things when you're 15. You're not going to believe those same things when you're 68. You know what I mean? Over time, everybody's perspective will change. So the same thing in this situation. This could be also a personal, an internal issue, right? It doesn't have to be external, although I do get a heavy sense of partnership here with that Three of Pentacles. Oh, okay. Some of you, this is, you know, and this is a big one for me to say this, but it's a collective, so I think I'm a little bit, whatever. I'm a little more, I'm in a different vibe. I can tell you that. This is a different vibe. Many of you in the collective are dealing with third-party situation, but the caveat that I give here on my channel is still standing here. Third party does not always mean romantic. I know thematically a lot of things involving court or official channels or some type of intermingling between business partners, family members, things like that. That was coming up for many people's or many different zodiacs during September. So the third party situation doesn't have to be a cheating scenario. It doesn't have to be an illicit affair. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can be pure business. It could be totally just all in the family, you know, interfering in-laws, nosy neighbors, what have you. So this third party situation or this interference, maybe not interference, this, this is interesting. They're like, it is that way on purpose. Wow. It is that way on purpose. What does that mean? Like, some of you are being challenged by being pulled in different directions, right? You know, Three of Pentacles is about negotiation. It's about three or more sides or two or more sides or what have you coming together to try and get to a certain outcome. But each person in the situation might have a different vision of what the final product is supposed to look like. And that is on purpose. They keep saying this, on purpose, on purpose, on purpose, on purpose. So I don't know what that means. Maybe we'll get more information. But what I'm seeing is, you know, difficulty in admitting possibly hurt feelings or disappointment or not necessarily being able to cope with it, right? And then again, in time, that will change. In time, that will somehow be alleviated. So hopefully this initial message, because again, these are the cards that came out in September, right? For the collective. Those are the four most popular, and these three came out of the remainder that came out as repeated cards as most important to the four. So I feel and see that whatever you're going through, it feels awful. And it's taking so much of your strength, so much of your personal power and perseverance to stick with it. Some of you might. Right, I did say that before. Or, not that I said it before in this reading, but I've said this before with the King of Swords. King of Swords could be legal counsel, and I know for a few signs, I feel like Gemini was one, Libra may have been another, that I mentioned court before in September. So, all right, enough rambling. Let's see what else is going on here. So that's kind of the big takeaway from September for the general collective. What do we want to know about this information? What do we do with this? First of all, let's figure out who are some of the key players here in this situation. Do we want to know that? Nah, they're like, no. They're like, no, you don't want to know that, because if this resonates with you, you already know that. You know who you are, and you know who the people are. Thank you. They're like, they're like, boom, boom, boom. They already know who's in the Three of Pentacles, so you guys don't need to know that information. So let's see. Let's figure out more about the Sun card. How about that? Because maybe that's what you guys need to hear. The Sun card, because that feels really, really positive. That feels really like brighter days ahead, to be, you know, not very clever, but that's what that feels like, you know. After a rainy day, here comes the sun, right? So tell us more about the Sun for the collective. Why is the Sun here? Why is the Sun a part of this reading? Please show me. Why is the Sun in this reading for the collective? Alrighty then. And of course it's going to be right there. And I got to move things around in order to get here. But there you go. Page of Wands in reverse. And the first card with it was the Strength again. Okay, for those who are dealing with a Leo, or you are a Leo, or you have Leo placements in your chart, or they have it in theirs, it feels as though giving up of immaturity, right? Interesting. Passing on immaturity. All right. So for some of you, with the Hangman there, lessons will be learned in time. That Sun is the sort of the grade on the test, you know, because I think astrologically, right, Saturn is, or is a, Mars is coming out of retrograde in November. I think Saturn came out recently, or is about to. Please don't quote me. I'm not an astrologer. As you can see, I don't really know it that well, but I think that's coming out. And Saturn is sort of like the taskmaster of the astrological realm, right? And so when Saturn does any great transits in our lives, in our charts, both personal charts and collective, right? we are bound to learn some lessons. We're bound to be confronted with the information or insights or results that are going to kind of put us on a new path, or again, it's like being graded. Like, you kind of know where you stand when you get a grade on a test or a report, right? And you kind of know what you need to improve on. You know what you need, what you're good on, what you've conquered, what you've understood. So it feels like the sun is a returned grade that basically says, give up the immaturity. Or you will say that to yourself, or life lessons will tell you this, or a person will tell you this. It feels as though someone will be definitely confronted or affirmed that petty, childish silliness is donezo, right? Okay, so that's strength. Okay, so that's major arcana for Leo. Page of Wands is fire energy. So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Again, you don't have to be a fire sign to be living in this energy or experience this part of the story. It could be in your chart somewhere, or that's just the vibe of the collective once the sun card comes into play. So it feels like, the Page of Wands, I say the immaturity thing because pages are related to childlike energy or immature energy. But I also feel that the Page of Wands isn't known to be the most stable person in the whole universe, right? It's not an energy that you come to rely on. None of the pages are anyway. But if you had to choose one of the pages to rely on, it wouldn't be the Page of Wands, unless you want to rely on somebody who's optimistic, great, enthusiastic, great, but not really good at setting up shop, not really good at formulating sturdy plans for longer than a few weeks. I feel the Page of Wands in this energy is turning up to be kind of fickle, and you're not into that either for yourself or in other people. So there's this releasing, it feels like a releasing of people or behaviors within yourself that are not reliable. It's not, you can't count on it, right? So if you can't count on a person, or you can't count on yourself, there's this willingness, very strong, very hard-hitting willingness. What? That's so weird. Hard-hitting willingness. So maybe it's like being like no nonsense. You know what I mean? So let's say this was to be two different people. Again, it doesn't have to be, but let's just say that. Let's say one person shows up as the Strength card and one person shows up as the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Even though they came out together, let's say they were two separate people. You have one person who's like not taking any BS anymore, not taking any excuses, and is really holding firm to principles. And when you have the Strength card, as you can see, it's basically, in both cases, because the Strength is out here twice, but you can see here as well, you've got this woman, presumably this very, not frail, but weak. If this lion out of nowhere just decides to bite her freaking hand off, he could do it, right? But she's facing that fear, or disregarding that fear, or is coming with such love and authenticity and gentleness towards this very ferocious lion that there's a copacetic relationship between them. So if this is one person and another, if we're talking about two people, this person represented by the Strength card, again, doesn't matter what their sign is, they could go, it is within their power to be ferocious. It's within their characteristic to be kind of cutthroat. But instead, it's like a gentle way of being cutthroat, or gentle way of holding space, of holding boundaries, of holding expectation, and setting standards, right? If it's sort of like that idea of animals, or what is it, animals or dogs, whichever way it goes, can smell fear. They can smell fear, right? So if this woman in this card were to go in there shaking like a leaf, oh, I'm so scared to help this lion with its injured paw, the lion might take that moment of vulnerability and attack her, right? Instead, she stands strong, she faces her fear, she faces her apprehension, she kind of goes against any type of good advice. Do not go near a lion. They are killers, or whatever any general regular person would say. Step away from the lion, Mary, So it's like this not giving into the fear of being taken advantage of, being victimized, not giving into the fear of not being strong is kind of how this feels. It's like somebody kind of gets challenges themselves to be firmer, to be more resolute, to not back down. And I feel like it's a not backing down to this person or the expectations of others or the immature ways that they have been dealt with. Like this person has been treated like a child, perhaps. Maybe that's it. Something like that, where the person in the strength card, people baby them, or people talk down to them, condescend to them, people don't respect them. They're treated as if they are a page, and they are rejecting that by turning this energy on its head, right? So if you no longer want to be treated like a child, you're going to act more like an adult. Or if you don't want to be treated as if you can't make your own decisions or something like that, it's like standing your ground. This is very like self-affirmed, self-possessed energy. And it can apply, again, to just one person. This could be something that is done internally. I'm done feeling sorry for myself. I'm done victimizing myself. I'm done thinking I'm not able to create or able to... that I'm not able to be who I am and be proud of who I am. Interesting, pride coming out from the images of the lions and that whole idea of lions being prideful and Leos being prideful and egotistical and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's this very like, I am fill in the blank. I am doing fill in the blank. I will be fill in the blank. It's just like a lot of I statements, a lot of declaration of the self. And that is not something that immature people do. Truly immature people, I find, and you could you could maybe argue this, but I find a lot of people don't, how can I say this? I feel confident people are very, if not confident, at least self-assured, or again, maybe a little cocky or egotistical. They make a lot of affirmed I am statements. I'm this, I'm that, I'm da 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 da. Instead of saying, well, I'm like this, or I'm not really like that. You know what I mean? There's just like more of this front loading of strong emphasis on the self and less about, well, I think I am and blah, 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 you know, and that could just be down to how a person talks. So please, you know, and I'm not a psychologist. I don't study language in that way. So please don't take that don't take that, too strongly, but that's what that feels like. It feels like somebody who maybe was before kind of mousy, quote unquote mousy, becomes all the more stronger over time, because again, with the Wheel of Fortune and the Hangman, this is not an overnight thing. And again, this is just like a condensed takeaway of what was discussed across or what cards and what energies were most prominent across the collective. Yeah. So someone in this picture, maybe you viewer, maybe someone else that you're dealing with, is going to come into like this big sense of like self-possession, like no longer being influenced by others, no longer giving into, with the Page of Wands, their own impulses. Because the Page of Wands, again, going back to what the pages are all about, not a reliable character and definitely out to have a good time, you know, in whatever way that means. You know, if that means literally just getting together and just like shooting the breeze and not really, you know, being quote unquote responsible or again grown up, mature and all that stuff, or having a good time, spending a lot of time with people, you know, being super social in the middle of a pandemic, you know, whatever. There's just like a no more of that, either from the self or other people. Okay. Wow. Interesting. So I think, all right, so I think maybe we'll be clarifying everything, but I guess we're going in the reverse, yeah? So the Hanged Man, they're giving me that this is a challenge, right? And that's interesting. I'm going to leave this here, but we're going to put that there. So the Hangman is a challenge for several of you guys. I mean, in general, the Hangman would be a challenge. That's an invitation to sit in uncomfortability or uncomfortable situations, circumstances, emotions. It is touching the Five of Cups, so that kind of makes a lot of sense. And interesting that they're making me point this out. But this is typical for my readings. Like, cards that touch usually have like some kind of message to each other. So the Hangman is touching the Five of Cups, which again is like this disappointment, in some cases deep emotional pain, or chronic emotional pain, depression, things like that. And it's also touching the Strength card. And the Hangman is meant to reconcile things that are not easily reconcilable. It's meant to push us, or encourage us to become more aware and enlightened in the middle of an activity, a situation, a circumstance, a state of mind that is uncomfortable. You see a guy, he's dangling upside down by his ankle, right? Unless you're like, some type of circus performer, that's probably not comfortable for the average person to be put into that physical position. So this is a challenge to find the strength to get over whatever this chronic disappointment is, or chronic pain is, this depression, whatever this is. Might be loss also. Five of Cups can also be about loss. So some of us out here, maybe we've lost relationships, jobs. That's dead on the nose because of a lot of the economic strife that so many people are facing, and the worry of the loss, and the worry of letting yourself down or letting other people down, something like that. So let's see more about the Hangman. What's happening with the Hangman for the collective? Why is the Hangman in this reading? Why did it come out in this reading? Why is the Hangman here? Six of Wands, okay. Eventual victory, they're saying. Eventual victory. Overcoming. Why is the Hangman here? Please show me. Why is the Hangman here? Oh, maybe. Oh, okay, there we go. I was like, maybe we're only going to get one card. All right, so we'll take that. Six of Wands and Three of Cups. Okay. So it feels like in time, if you're in a disagreement with someone, and this is, okay, so please be careful with this, because it's not going to be as hunky-dory as that Three of Cups is depicting. But it feels like eventually in time, there will be some type of return, some type of return to normalcy, or return to happier times, or calmer times, or more relaxed times. Again, please be careful with this, because this is not me saying everybody who's in a difficult situation, you guys are going to come out, sunny side up on this thing. No. But it is sort of this eventual return to your peace, your calm, possibly your own happiness. Yes, thank you. So the Six of Wands, traditionally in tarot, is the return from battle, right? It's the return after a long journey, or a long voyage, or a long quest, right? You see someone returning on horseback to their town, to their castle, village, or whatever it is. And the presumption is they've seen some things, right? They've gone through something that was hard. They've gone through something that was not easy, right? Because what comes before the Six of Wands? The Five of Wands, and that's the card of conflict. So after your conflict, you kind of get some type of resolution, right? And this Six of Wands is, and the Three of Cups is clarifying the Hangman, which again is after wrestling with something that's difficult, possibly having to be enlightened in for some of you, that's potentially like a very spiritual enlightenment. It's not for everybody. That's like a small percentage of you guys, because if you're watching a tarot reading and other readings and other things that are going on in the world, you're already inclined. But some of you are like new to this journey, and so that is the big wake up. Is like, oh my God, I've never thought about what my birth chart means. I never thought about meditating and using crystals or doing Reiki or whatever. And some of you, it's more traditional ways of finding spirituality. I never once picked up the Bible. I never once did this. I never once, prayed to any God. I always was, thinking there was nothing out there, something like that, right? So this enlightenment, this awareness that comes over you, and some of you, it's not even about that. It's just like self-awareness. You might just need to own some shit. You might just need to own what you've been going through, because in some of your cases, you've been hiding the strength to hide. You've been hiding how depressed you are. You've been hiding, or someone around you, doesn't have to be you, but someone has been hiding how deeply hurt they've been. And in order to get over that, I feel you got to own it, right? You can't, I always tell my friends, and because I'm like, an unofficial, therapist to them. And I joke with them about them. I always encourage my friends and clients, please seek the help of a, certified professional. I'm just, doing this as like a fun thing on the side, okay? But I always tell my friends, if you are going through something emotionally, why wouldn't you go seek the help of a professional in whatever sense that means to you? A doctor, a shaman, and a mom, a priest, a preacher, I don't care. Somebody who has spent their life, studying how to help people get through grief, get through stress, get through loss and pain and all those things, right? And I say to my friends, I say to them, if you had a broken bone, you wouldn't just like sit on it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't just like let it lie. You would go to a doctor, someone who is a trained professional in resetting and helping your body get well, get better, right? So it's the same thing here. When I feel someone has been hiding or finding the strength to possibly push themselves through a situation which is not making them happy. For many of you, this is like relationship or family where you've been there, but you're not there. Interesting. You're there, but you're not there. So I think that the Six of Wands is a personal victory, right? It's kind of whatever you do in the meantime between now and whenever the sun is meant to come into your life, or whenever you finally kick into this hangman energy. I feel it's a personal victory that you might want to celebrate with the Three of Cups with friends and family who are there to support you. But it feels like, again, what I said before, the Six of Wands has seen some shit, we don't get the full detail of what this man on the horse is victorious over, but he feels proud and he's being rewarded, or he's being, given his accolades, and he's being, given the applause that he probably is deserving of. Now, that's not to say, most of you are going to go and like stand in a parade and have people, come out and shake your hand and say job well done or anything like that. It feels like a quiet personal victory. Now, I say that, and you guys don't know this. Well, maybe you do, because I already told you. This is not saying you're going to win the day and you're going to get everything you want in the situation, because the loss is already here. Like I told you, these four were the most repeated out of all the 24 readings, right? That is happening, or it has happened. There will be, or has been, or in some way, some type of a loss. And even if you don't lose whatever, let's say it was over property. Let's say, I'm just using this as an example. Let's say you guys were having an issue over ownership of a property, or retaining a property, something like that. Retaining rights, whatever it is. You might be able to keep the possessions, keep the location, get the deed in your name, but you might have burned bridges with friends, family members, business partners, lovers, what have you. So as much as someone might be able to retain something or keep it or get a quote unquote a victory, there's still this emotional loss that's there. Okay? So the victory, I feel, is personal, in the sense that I think maybe it could just be, yeah, that feels like it. It could just be that it's over. It could just be that it's over. Like this guy could maybe, okay, there we go. Now this might, I'm going to say it, and I don't think I hope it's not true for anybody, but it's possible. Like, again, the card that precedes this is the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is about conflict and strife. It's about fighting, right? And, for a little bit, he kind of looks like he's in military garb, right? And he's returning to his hometown. So what happens in war? I hope this is not the story for any of you, but it could be. You lose people, your comrades, your friends, the members of your unit. The men and women that you fight alongside, they might die. And so you come home. It's a personal victory. You return to your loved ones. Maybe even whatever side of the war or the disagreement that you were fighting on wins the day, right? victory for fill in, country, fill in, whatever the conflict we're talking about, wins the day, and that's the win, but you lost your friends. Maybe you did something, and this is something that they talk about amongst soldiers and servicemen and women. You lose a part of your, quote unquote, like your humanity. Like you feel as though, at least, the people that I've seen and a few that I've talked to, you become a different person because you've seen and done things that you never thought you would have to do, or you never thought you would experience. You know what I mean? So even if you came back and all the people in your unit are returned home safely, you still, maybe, again, God forbid, maybe you had to do some things to take the life of another person on, the other side, right? And that, to some people is deeply affecting. And I just said, or I said a little while ago, that someone has had this, is putting on this brave face that they're not hurt, that they're not affected, when, you could be sitting there with PTSD. And it doesn't have to be a war story. This could be something, again, very personal. It could be a war between friends, a war between family members, a war between, lovers or spouses or something like that. So the Hanged Man, your perspective will change, or you will become enlightened to something. And that's a small victory for self. Again, you might need to talk, whoever this is, it doesn't have to be you, viewer, it could be someone you know, might need to talk to a professional, might need to seek spiritual counseling, might need to journal, for God's sakes. If you don't want to talk to anybody else, journal it. Speak it out loud. Create a vlog, right? Maybe that's, whatever it is to get that energy moving, to get that, because the Five of Cups can feel, at least in this reading, it feels kind of stuck, like thick mud, like spinning your wheels in like mud on the side of the road, and you can't find traction. And you might be able to find traction if you simply do self-work. Maybe you don't seek out the help of anybody else and you do this all on your own. That's fine. But I think that the catalyst is how uncomfortable it is. Like, someone is reaching a breaking point here. It's gone on for a long time. It's possibly been a secret for a long time. And eventually, that's going to come out. That weight of the pain and the depression and the anxiety and all that, it can't stay there. It can't be immobile. It has to move, right? It has to move. Some of you have to move. Six of Wands can indicate some type of movement. It can indicate that where you are is no longer sustainable or livable, right? And I did say that coming home, some of you might have to move back home for some reason. Interesting. All right, so I guess the theme for this reading, at least, I don't know if it's going to be like this if I do it again in October, we're going to clarify the Wheel of Fortune. So in time, all things will happen. And this feels like destiny, and I don't, like to throw that word around. I don't say it very often on my channel, but this feels like destiny. Like, I think sometimes in tarot, we like to think like, we're in like a fairy tale storybook, and it's, sure, there's strife and everything, but there's going to be like these wonderful magical moments of a of a turnaround, or just like it's so wonderful. And I got to tell you, I think tarot and astrology and just life in general is more like a this is like bringing out like the very, very slight English nerd in me. This is like an epic. This is like an epic story of sort of like that medieval type of literature where, like, literally lots of blood, lots of loss, lots of crazy, ridiculously painful and awful things can happen that eventually lead to better things. Oh, why am I saying this? Oh, okay, thank you. Because they're like destiny, light, time, and they're showing me this. They're showing me a wheel like that, and it's spinning over and over. And if I gotta tell you, let me tell you what it is. This little wheel, or something very much similar to, like that, is spinning and spinning and spinning, and off of it are like sparks flying. And those sparks that I see, or that they're putting into my head just now, are actually like life like lifelines or souls, I guess, being like spun off and like tossed out into the universe, being like dealt out. So it's like maybe this has been a pattern, thank you, for some of you over several lifetimes. Maybe this has been a pattern in just this lifetime. But something is changing here, and the change is through very difficult means, through a difficult vehicle. This is not pleasant. Nothing that I've described, I don't think, is pleasant for you guys to be experiencing, but it is pivotal and it is destined. Okay, that's the biggest thing that I could really give you there. So let's see. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? Part of the distilled message of September. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? Of course this video is long. I can't do a short video to save my life. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? For the collective. Thank you. Page of Swords. Okay. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here in the distilled message? And the Wheel of Fortune clarifies the Wheel of Fortune. I think they want me to do another one with that one. Yes. Because they're like, it's too similar, too similar. One more. Thank you. Oh, and it slid into the reverse position. I can see that. So, Page of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, and the Six of Swords in reverse. Yes. So, here's what happens. Okay. So, not Saturn. Wheel of Fortune is ruled by Jupiter, or is associated with the planet of Jupiter. And Wheel of Fortune, for those who may or may not be aware, is a secondary major arcana for Sagittarius. Quickly, since I'm now reminded I didn't mention. So Leo, Sagittarius, Hangman, secondary major for Pisces, and then the Sun, Leo again. So it doesn't, it's a general big old collective, so hang on to that if you want. You don't have to be dealing with anybody of the signs I've just mentioned. Now, Jupiter, again, associated with the Wheel of Fortune, is about expansion, right? But I already told you, or I mentioned it earlier, that Saturn was retrograde and it's now going direct. Meaning there was a much more restrictive energy for a while in our collective lives, and it's going to resonate or manifest in different ways across our personal lives, right? But collectively, Saturn was like, hang on everybody, I'm going to grade these tests. Give me a minute. You know what I mean? And so what I feel here is this Page of Swords, air sign energy, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, don't have to be one and you don't have to be dealing with one, is kind of like, what's that word? Precocious, right? Where there's somebody who they think they know it all, or they might bite off more than they can chew. It feels like also kind of too cool for school kind of energy, meaning like nobody can tell me what to do. I'm not going to be, not that I'm not going to be dictated to. It's more like, I see what I see. Thank you. Interesting. I see what I see. Okay, so the Page of Swords wants to be clever, wants to be smart, wants to be intellectual. Swords deals with our mental capacities, how we rationalize the world, how we communicate, how we argue, things like that. And all that takes some semblance of intelligence, some semblance of knowledge, some semblance of know-how and understanding, right? And the pages, all the pages, not just the Page of Swords, wants to go for those things, wants to be better at those things, wants to be accomplished and a master of those things. So somebody, I think, kind of had it in their head how everything was supposed to go in their life, or how a certain situation or event in their life was supposed to go, kind of had, ideals. Ideals is what this feels like. Possible assumptions? And the Wheel of Fortune in the middle here is expansion. Again, with this emphasis of Jupiter coming out. An expansion on that worldview. There it is. So the Page of Swords, and again, this is true for all pages, are just beginning. They're novice energy. Again, immature energy. Not immature like nanny boo boo, but immature as in not developed, right? Not as experienced. So someone who has a lack of experience, possible world experience, possible worldview, someone who doesn't have as much knowledge as other people in the situation, I feel that they thought they had everything right. Thought they had everything right. Remember earlier when I was talking about like getting a test graded? You ever seen that? Someone like thinks they know all the answers and like they like burn through a test and they fill everything out on the sheet. And then when the test comes back and everybody's like, hey, what'd you get on the test? What'd you get on that quiz? What'd you get on that report? Right? And they're like, I got a C minus. Oh, really? You were like the first person out of your seat handing in your test. You got a C minus? Yeah, I didn't. You know, it's like someone who is overconfident is what this feels like. Thank you. We finally got something. Overconfident and assured that things are going to go the way that they kind of already understand them to be, right? Because again, pages don't know the whole story. They are just beginners or they are novice energy, right? So it feels like somebody kind of had a plan for themselves or a plan in the situation or again an assumption, right? And whether or not it was true, whether or not they had the right to be or they were valid in their assumption or they had all the correct information, it feels that good old good old Wheel of Fortune in the middle there was encouraging this person to see the fuller picture and to be a little bit more expansive, right? Or to possibly wait. That's another thing that I'm seeing here, or that I'm feeling here, is that, you know, the Page of Swords. Swords are the fastest of the 4 elements in the tarot. So the Page of Swords may be a very impatient person. Maybe they're precocious and they think they know it all, plus they're impatient. Guess what? Wheel of Fortune says, no. You gotta go by my clock. You gotta go by my timepiece, you know what I mean? Divine timing and all that good stuff. So there might have been a lot of insistence or pushing and wanting results now and thinking, I've got all the answers, I'm ready to turn this test in, I'm ready to move on to the next subject, to the next unit of study, I don't need to be here anymore. And so I think that this person, whoever it may be, you, another person I don't know, basically didn't study, you know. They're thinking that they're correct when they're absolutely not correct, right? And so, yes, cycles again. Remember when I was telling you they were showing me like a spinning thing and like, you know, sparks are flying off of this spinning wheel, and in my mind those are like souls being like thrown off into the universe, like thrown wherever they're going to go, and to this planet, to some other planet, some other plane of existence, whatever. And it feels like someone keeps being thrown back into the same cycle, lifetime after lifetime, or same lesson or cycle. Yeah, same difference, I guess. Well, no, it's different. But anyway, they keep being thrown back into the same line. You need to go do that again and again and again. Go back, do it again. Go back, do it again. Go back, do it again. Either the same thing keeps happening in this lifetime, or you or someone else has spent several lifetimes doing the same thing over and over and over again. The Six of Swords is to indicate, again, that this cycle keeps going around. When we see the Six of Swords and it's in the upright, we're talking about progression. When it's in the reverse, not so much. So it feels as if we are coming back to the same issue, the same circumstance. In this lifetime I'm talking about. You could be coming back to the same circumstance, the same people. You could be dealing with, I did say chronic, and it doesn't have to be other people, but in many of your cases, this is rooted or somehow affecting other people. So, remember I was talking a while ago about the Five of Cups, how for some of you, it's like a personal pain or grief or PTSD and stuff like that. So you might be told several times by people who know and love you and care about you, hey, friend, hey, brother, sister, girlfriend, mother, father, whoever you are, I think you need help with this, or I'd be willing to help you do XYZ, XYZ, and, you know, trying to get someone engaged in breaking a cycle. Or the universe is doing that. If it's not a single individual or group of people who keep coming back to tell you the same thing or deliver the same message, the universe is doing that. And in order to grow, to expand with the Wheel of Fortune, with that energy of Jupiter and Sagittarius, is to break cycles, to break the convention of doing the same thing over and over and over again. If you know anything about Sagittarian energy, if you don't, Google it, but this is kind of their bag. Again, Sagittarian energy is to see the cycle, recognize the cycle, and break away from the cycle and go towards something else in the name of expansion, in the name of growing knowledge, in the name of seeing a wider, bigger scope of everything, right? for enlightenment with the Hangman. So, that, I guess, is the reading. I've been here for a long time. So guys, that is the distilled message from September for the collective. If you found something that resonated here, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to read it. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so if you're into it, let me know. If you're not so into it, I guess you could let me know, but I kind of will see that regardless. But if you found something that resonated here, leave a comment. Feel free to like the video. Share it, of course, if you think other people would appreciate what I'm doing here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, friends, please consider subscribing. Alright guys, I'll be back soon to do the October messages and then the mid-Octobers. If you happen to be a Libra, I think, what day is it? Let me look at my phone real quick because I forgot the date. I think it's the 10th. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Just a minute. But yeah, if you're a Libra... Yep, I was right. I'm going to go live for you guys on October 10th at 7 p.m. here on the channel for your birthday season. So if you want to join me for that, that'd be super cool, okay? Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Oh, and if you wanted a personal from me, you can find it in the description box below. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.